What if I told you the CIA once built a secret tunnel directly beneath Soviet-controlled Berlin, and the Soviets knew about it almost from the very beginning? It sounds impossible. Why would one of the world's most feared intelligence agencies spend millions of dollars digging a massive underground tunnel, only for the enemy to quietly watch it happen? The answer is one of the strangest espionage stories ever uncovered. In the years after World War II, Berlin became the most dangerous city on Earth. The city wasn't just divided by politics. It was divided by spies. On one side stood the United States, Britain, and their allies. On the other stood the Soviet Union. Every street, every building, every telephone line could be hiding an intelligence operation. Both sides desperately wanted to know what the other was planning. Nuclear weapons, military deployments, political decisions. The Cold War wasn't fought only with armies. It was fought with information, and whoever controlled that information could change the balance of power. Then, American intelligence made an astonishing discovery. Some of the Soviet Union's most important military communications passed through underground telephone cables beneath East Berlin. If those cables could somehow be reached, the CIA wouldn't need to steal documents. They could simply listen. There was only one problem. Those cables were deep inside Soviet-controlled territory. Breaking in from above would be impossible. So the CIA proposed something no one had ever attempted before. Instead of crossing the border, they would dig beneath it, a secret tunnel, one that could change the Cold War forever. The project was given one simple name, Operation Gold. But there was nothing simple about it. The CIA partnered with Britain's intelligence agency MI6 to build one of the most ambitious espionage projects of the Cold War. The plan sounded unbelievable. Dig nearly 1,500 feet beneath Berlin, cross into Soviet-controlled territory, and secretly connect to underground military telephone cables. Construction began inside a heavily guarded American warehouse in West Berlin. From the outside, it looked like an ordinary military storage facility. Inside, engineers worked around the clock. Using heavy drilling machines, they slowly carved a tunnel beneath the divided city. Every inch was dangerous. Too much noise, and Soviet patrols might hear it. One mistake, and the tunnel could collapse. The workers couldn't even tell their families what they were building. Everything was classified. Truckloads of dirt were quietly removed at night to avoid suspicion. Ventilation systems were installed. Electric lighting stretched through the narrow passage. Water pumps kept the tunnel dry. Month after month, the tunnel grew longer. Then finally, after months of digging, the engineers reached the exact location of the Soviet communication cables. The impossible had become reality, but digging the tunnel had been the easy part. Now, the CIA had to tap the Soviet phone lines. Without anyone noticing, inside the tunnel, CIA technicians worked with incredible precision. Instead of cutting the cables, they carefully attached specialized listening devices designed to capture every conversation without interrupting the signal. If the line suddenly went silent, the Soviets would know something was wrong. So every connection had to be perfect. Soon, the first recordings began arriving. Thousands of military conversations, orders from Soviet commanders, railway movements, Air Force activity, supply operations, even routine discussions between military headquarters. Every day, new intelligence flowed into American hands. Analysts translated and studied every recording. The information revealed how Soviet forces operated, how quickly they could respond, and what they feared most. Many intelligence officers believed Operation Gold had become one of the CIA's greatest successes. Months passed. The tunnel remained hidden. The recordings kept coming. Everything appeared perfect, until one shocking discovery changed the entire story. The greatest threat wasn't inside the tunnel. It was already inside British intelligence itself. For nearly a year, Operation Gold appeared to be the perfect intelligence mission. The recordings never stopped. The tunnel remained hidden, and the CIA believed they had fooled the Soviet Union. But they were wrong. Long before the first shovel touched the ground, the KGB already knew everything. Not because they had discovered the tunnel, not because Soviet patrols had heard the digging, but because of one man. His name was George Blake. a respected officer inside MI6. Unknown to his colleagues, Blake had secretly become a Soviet spy. When Operation Gold was approved, he quietly passed every detail to the KGB, the tunnel's location, its purpose, even how the Americans planned to intercept Soviet communications. The Soviets now face an unusual decision. They could destroy the tunnel immediately or let it continue. Instead, they chose something far more dangerous. They allowed the CIA to believe the mission was working. For months, Soviet commanders continued using the telephone lines. Some conversations were genuine, others were carefully controlled. The KGB wanted to protect their greatest secret, George Blake himself. If the tunnel disappeared too quickly, the Americans would know someone had betrayed them. So they waited, patiently, until the time was right. Almost a year after the operation began, Soviet soldiers suddenly announced they had discovered a secret tunnel beneath East Berlin. Newspapers around the world exploded with the story. The CIA officially expressed surprise. Photographs of the tunnel quickly spread across international media. To the public, it looked like a failed American spy mission. But behind closed doors, the truth was far more shocking. The tunnel hadn't failed because of poor engineering. It hadn't failed because Soviet patrols found it. It had been compromised before construction had even begun. Years later, George Blake's betrayal was finally exposed. He was arrested and sentenced to decades in prison. But in an unbelievable twist, he escaped from prison and fled to the Soviet Union, where he lived for the rest of his life, despite its dramatic ending. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden stories of the Cold War, subscribe to Story Nest. Every week, we reveal the secret CIA operations, declassified missions, and true espionage stories that shaped world history.